Hi, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. This video is a return to my Advanced Theories in Political Philosophy lecture series. As the title suggests, it's advanced. As the title suggests, it's an analysis of theories within political philosophy. My area of expertise, my area of specialization is political philosophy, and I don't approach theoretical analysis of political theory in the same sense that a political scientist would, though it complements, obviously, a traditional political science discourse on the political concepts. Today I'm going to continue my analysis. The books that I'm using are these two books, Histories of Political Philosophy and The Great Political Theories. So I've already done the first section 1 and section 1.1 came from this book. Today we're looking at this book. We're going to be talking about the Islamic political theorist Al-Farabi. So look in the section, it's in my notes on page 4, and this is what we'll be discussing today. So these are the two books, and today we're using this one. Okay, so again, as always, you guys know the routine. If you want to gain access to the lecture notes, just click the link in the description field. It'll take you to the PDF. Check the PDF frequently to make sure you have the most up-to-date version of the PDF. Obviously, I've just updated the PDF at the time of this video being uploaded, so you'll need this PDF in order to follow along. I also always recommend, you can't demand it, but I recommend that if you're already watching this series, if you're interested in this series, then the whole point of the series is to supplement the reading. I recommend that you get both of the books and follow along with my notes, add your own notes, and then you'll have a much broader, a much richer understanding of political theory. So, with that, enough talking. Let's begin. Okay, so this is Advanced Theories. And this is section 2.0. Okay, and we're going to discuss Al-Farabi in this section. Again, let me get my page ready. 206 to 297. It's not that long, is it? That couldn't be right. 206 to, it's not 297. I wrote that wrong. Or maybe it is. Yeah, no, it's not. I put 206 to 297. I'll make sure I change that. It's not as long as that. Okay, so page 206, we'll be discussing Al-Farabi again in this lecture. Let me just get it. Okay, so now we're ready to go. Alright, so I'm going to skip the section. The first, if you have the book, the first section that they have labeled is Divine and Political Science. I'm going to skip that section, Divine and Political Science, because it doesn't really factor into the objective that I have. It's important that you read it, it's important that you know it. If you want to know the contents of that initial section, then buy the book and read it for yourself. I'm jumping immediately to page 209, The Virtuous Regime. Okay, so with respect to Al-Farabi, it's important to understand, I don't do historical stuff, but I'm going to give you a quick little super short historical background. The idea is that he was really one of the first to incorporate the classical works from the main classicists, Plato, Aristotle, and such, into his analysis of both Islamic faith and the way in which Islamic faith is established to govern the population in terms of political, I don't want to say ideology, but that's the word I'm going to use, in terms of political ideology. With that being said, I want it to be expressly clear, right from the beginning, that I am not going to do a religious interpretation of Al-Farabi, though I understand the intent in his writing was to both describe the religious application and applicability and the political applicability. I'm not going to discuss the religious because I'm not Muslim. I don't feel that I have really the knowledge to understand fully the application in terms of Al-Farabi's faith. this is specifically why my Nietzsche series, or whatever, I just don't go into, this is why I don't go into religion at all. I represent the author's claim, and I apply it to whatever my context might be, philosophy or political theory, and we move on. I do that with all my lecture series. With respect to Islam, I'm going to adhere to my own code, which is I don't discuss religious application because I'm not a member of the religious community. Okay, so the application then, in terms of divinity, when he talks about the divine and such, I'll address it, but I'm not going to incorporate it, right? Specifically, I'll let you know this because I'm telling you right from the beginning that my analysis is going to be biased. And in a sense, some people might say it's unjust because I'm secularizing his analysis, but that's exactly what I'm doing, right? I'm precisely looking into his analysis for those components which make sense of contemporary political thought, contemporary political theory, and applying his analysis then to a broader understanding of political theory and political analysis now. So I'm just letting you know right off the bat what my intent is and where I'm going with this lecture. It's also advanced, so I'm going to assume that you already know about Al-Farabi. Alright, so the virtuous regime. Okay, so the virtuous regime. Alright, to begin then, 210 in the text, this is a direct quote, right? So this quote says the following: distinction between virtue and vice, right? Distinction between virtue and vice in the Aristotelian sense presupposes knowledge of what human perfection or happiness is, right? So the author of this section on Al-Farabi is immediately letting us know that in terms of Al-Farabi's political situatedness, Al-Farabi, is making a distinction that he borrows from Aristotle. Right, this is assumed. And I'm going to start a little slow before I just jump off the cliff, right? Just so that we have a quick sort of conceptual framework with which Al-Farabi is discussing his analysis. In the Aristotelian sense, we're making the distinction between virtue and vice, right? Alright, so, and I did another lecture before, and I was corrected in I forget who the person was, and I also forget what lecture it was that I did, but I talked about Aristotle's description of sort of a virtue-based ethics, and I said before that it was sort of moderation for virtue and an excess, but also the person said it's not just excess, right? It's moderation, excess, or deprivation. So deprivation or excess satisfies the condition for vice, moderation, self-control, sophrosyne, in a sense, satisfies the condition for virtue. Okay, so the distinction between virtue and vice presupposes knowledge of what human perfection or happiness, as well as the distinction between noble and base activities, right? So that this description, this assessment, this polemic between virtue on the one hand and vice on the other hand, all of this presupposes a broader knowledge, right? And that knowledge is the knowledge of happiness. Okay, I wasn't going to incorporate this, and I should put it in my notes, but of course when you start lecturing, it's different from when you're preparing the notes. Preparing the notes, I'm very sort of systematic. When I'm lecturing, I can freestyle it a little bit more, so more concepts jumped into my head. I didn't incorporate it in the notes, but I'm going to give you the idea that Aristotle brings up, and I hope, yeah, so hopefully this, and I know it's right. Eudaimonia, right? Eudaimonia. Right? Eudaimonia is sort of the goal, right? This happiness as an end state, right? Which is not to be confused with pleasure in a hedonic sense, right? We're not talking about pleasure or sort of physical, biological, physiological satisfaction. We're talking about happiness, and as we'll see in a little bit, for Al-Farabi, as well as for Aristotle, as well as Plato,